And we're back again. So that was a really nice session, and we will move on to our next guest. Our next speaker is Ida Bergum. Is she already there? I don't see her in the stream yet.
I'm
Yeah,
here.
there she comes. There she comes. Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Hi.
Great to see you.
How are you?
I'm good. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sitting at home as well, as probably everyone are doing these
like
days.
everyone, still isolated in their in their houses. Yeah.
Yes,
But yeah, fortunately we have our technique nowadays and we can do sessions like this, so that's pretty cool.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, would the life be without YouTube and Teams,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, very nice to have you. And I think yeah, perfect session you will give with nowadays. I think Teams is one of the most of the used one of the most used tool at the moment. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, so a very hot topic. Yeah, so very curious about your session. And I
Great
think
to
a
hear.
great
Yeah,
combination of two powerful tools.
it absolutely is. Yeah, and it was really interesting to see Rohan's view and. The whole bringing data to everyone vision of Microsoft. I like that vision. It's really
Yeah,
powerful, and I see which direction they're moving in, and I like it.
yeah, yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
if you're ready, I think we can go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, let me just share my desktop here, and
Yeah, there it is.
yeah, you can see it now.
Yeah,
All right, just okay. Yeah, so Um, yeah, thank you so much for inviting me to speak today. It was really cool to hear Rohan. And yeah, it's yeah, I'm of course very interested in all of the data topics there are out there, since that's also what I do on a daily basis. And today I will be talking about Power BI and Teams, a relationship that I feel it's really worth exploring. Um, and yeah, data is everywhere, as Rohan just pointed clearly out. Everyone is asking how can we use our data in a better way to make better decisions. And I totally agree. That's also what I see on a daily basis, that companies are really struggling on getting kind of past that yeah, that silo world. So what I will be presenting today, bringing data into teams, giving the people the insights where they're spending the most of their time these days. That's yeah, something I felt really important, and even more important in these days, right? So just to give you a little brief explanation of who I am for those who don't know me, and there's probably many of those. So I work in a company called Avanade. It's actually owned partly by Accenture and Microsoft, a joint venture. And I work with many of our Nordic enterprise clients on these topics. So yeah, how can we use data, make better decisions, and take action on those decisions? That's basically what I do. And I'm also a data platform MVP. Been that for 2 years now, and I do love Power BI. That's kind of yeah. I have a Power BI lover in my slide here, and yeah, that's what I would call myself. I'm really enthusiastic about Power BI, and that's what's bringing me here today as well. So let's just jump into what I will be talking about today. So I have two different topics actually as part of my presentation today. First one will be focusing on bringing Power BI and Teams together. And this is a quite new experience. Might be that some of you haven't even, that you don't even know it exists. If you haven't read all of the release notes that keeps popping up these days. So that will be the first part. And then the second part is actually how can we use Teams analytics, for instance, using Power BI. So there are some pretty nice accelerators if you're into like measuring all of the call quality and call data that you have in regards to Teams. I'll be showing you some good ways to do that as well. So that's the agenda. And I'm just going to jump right into the whole empower every team story. And back to Rohan's points, everyone these days are talking about becoming more data driven. And yeah, the struggles, back to what Rohan said, we need to make some decisions and we need to make them fast, right? And data is really, really key in all of the decisions that we make. And of course, Teams, as a key point these days, I actually spend maybe 10 hours a day in Teams, right? In calls and yeah, having different meetings with my colleagues. So the way we work these days have changed dramatically, right? Especially these few past months. And then new work patterns are definitely emerging from that. We're shifting to remote work. And yeah, it's a different world, basically. But Power BI is a really, really key component in all of the data solutions that I work with today. Power BI makes it easier to infuse data into these tools that we work. It doesn't only actually cover the Teams aspect. Power BI is integrated into a whole lot of experiences. So whether that's collaborating in Teams, if it's exploring data in Microsoft Excel, for instance, or leveraging the rest of the Power Platform to turn insights into action. And yeah, Microsoft recently announced several new capabilities in this area. And that is, of course, to infuse data into the everyday tools, while at the same time actually enabling IT to feel confident that it's governed and secured. And then creating a central personalized home for data in Teams will ensure that insights are always just a click away from the conversations we're having with our colleagues, with our teams, with our customers. And also where all of the decisions are made. And in addition to that, bringing the data into Teams, there is also an option, of course, for Teams administrators to pin Power BI to the left-hand navigation of Teams, which we all know very well. And then you can encourage actually your entire organization to infuse the data into their daily collaborations. So this is quite powerful from my point of view. And also, of course, a big step towards creating that data-driven culture, and making people more aware of using data into the daily conversations that we're having. And of course, I have a couple of demos to you today because this is something that I don't want to talk about throughout the whole session. It's better to show you how this actually works. The first demo I'll show you today is about the home experience and the new Power BI app for Teams. You probably know the old one, which was brilliant, but this is just taking it to a whole new level of intelligence into Teams. So you can actually find and view data much, much faster. You don't have to leave Teams to get the insights you're looking for. You can get them from within Teams. And you can also collaborate with your colleagues in a much faster way to share insights. And of course, this will foster a culture of using the data to make better and more agile decisions, for sure. Then the second demo here is about the search experience to find and open Power BI content. So you can actually name Power BI just if it was a colleague or something else. You can create, or you can search and use the search experience as part of many different angles within Teams. So I'll show you how that works from both chats and meetings and other conversations. Yeah, then we have the chat experience. It's actually the same search experience, but just from the chat window. So you can then find and open Power BI content by writing @Power BI. And then there is also, of course, some really, really interesting things coming. That's the gray bubbles in my slide. And this is super, super exciting. The data set discovery. I have a preview that I've stolen from the Power BI team in terms of previewing that feature. So I won't be able to show you like the full experience of it, but at least you can get an impression of the data set discovery from within Teams. And what that functionality actually does, it helps you to both find data. So it kind of gives another layer of data findability within Teams. So you can search for data sets from the tool you're using every day. And then you can create actually reports and also Excel workbooks from within that experience. And for me, that's kind of groundbreaking, that you can actually quickly spin up a report based on a data set while you're working from Teams. So super excited to jump over to the next demo here, or the first demo actually, which is the Teams Power BI application. Okay, so let's jump into it. So within Teams, let me just hold this for a second so you can see. This is the Teams experience, the normal, I'm within Teams, and if I go a little bit further here, the ribbon is actually cut off from the picture, but if you go into Teams and you search for apps and then Power BI, you have the option to attach that application to Teams in your personal Teams experience. And as you can see, there are a couple of different options here. So you can either add Microsoft or Power BI, to a team. That's the old experience, the one that you probably know from before, where you could like have a tab within your team to display reports. And then you also have the option to add to a chat, and that's the new experience. So let's go a little bit further here and just open up the new application from within Teams. And what you can see here is actually the experience that you are used to seeing from Power BI. So you get your home experience directly embedded into Microsoft Teams. And of course you have your favorites, your frequents, you have your tagged dashboards and reports and tiles. So actually this experience is very, very similar to what we're used to in the Power BI service. And yeah, so you can go in and click on a tile and drill down to your report and get more insights. You can go into your favorites and frequents and see what content you actually have here. And of course, all of the workspaces are there. All of the content has been shared with you is there. And then you also have the learning section. So this is pretty similar. Yeah, the Learning Center, this is where there are added in some content. This is the default Microsoft ones, so not the personalized ones. And then, of course, you can go in and see the information about the application, which version you're using, if you're using an old one, for instance. And what's interesting is that you have actually the total experience with the ribbon and everything on the left-hand side. So you can actually go in and fetch a new application. So for instance, the COVID-19 US application that is out there, open for everyone to download and use. That's something you can go in and fetch directly from Teams. You can also go into, for instance, deployment pipelines if you have a premium capacity, and you can steer your deployments from within Teams. So there is actually not that many differentiators from the Power BI normal experience. Of course, the Learning Center is still there. You can go into your workspaces here. So you see the workspace experience popping up. And then you can go into the workspaces. You can see all of the content. You can even create an application yourself from within Teams. And you can change the settings of a workspace. You can add to a premium capacity. And of course, you can also change the permissions of a workspace from within Teams. So there aren't that many differences in this view, so to say. So yeah, let's go a little bit further into the demo here so I can show you how the actual search experience looks like. So within Teams, we do have commands, easy ways to find content from the search ribbon on the top. And if you look closely now, you can go up to the ribbon there in the search field, and then you can just write Power BI. And then you will get a set of different options. So in this case here, you can see that I get my reports, and I can search for all of the content I have within my workspace. So you can see here I have the 3 pink ones. Those are workspaces. And then I have a dashboard and an app as well on the top there. And of course, if I want to find something specific, I can just go further and write or select a report. So in this case, if I just select the Microsoft 365 Usage Analytics, I also get some additional actions there within the Teams experience. And this is quite interesting because from here, you can either, of course, choose to go and open it, and you can even subscribe to this report directly from within Teams. And that's quite interesting, actually. Interesting options. You can also copy the link to the report. But what happens if you actually click open, it will redirect you to the Power BI service. But if you go back to Teams and then we open, for instance, a workspace, it will also actually redirect us to that workspace. So it's a really, really easy way of searching and finding and opening content directly from the Teams experience. I'll jump on a little bit here. Oh. Yeah, and another thing, if we go into the Power BI service, there is a different angle to how we can access or share content. So if you go into the Power BI service, powerbi.com, there is the option up in the ribbon there. If I go into the usage analytics report, I can also click on the chat in Teams option. And this is also a new thing it came back in October. So then what I can do is I get this window up, and then I can share that specific report to a team or a team member or whoever I would like to share this specific report to. And then of course I can add in a additional text to give some context to which report I'm sharing, and maybe where they should have a look if there is something interesting in terms of data in that report. So then I've shared that to my teams, and then everyone in that team will get a notification, of course, that I've shared a link to a report with them. Of course, it would be wonderful if we can kind of open up within the same experience. Maybe it will come in the future, who knows. And then when I'm in a channel, in a Teams, I can also go into just the normal conversation line there, and I can also write Power BI and do the similar search experience from there. So I could also then, for instance, just find a specific report and then share it from within that experience. So there's like many different angles to how you now can access and share data. And now this is, for instance, a colleague, Adminson. And then, of course, I can go in, and this is a little bit of a different experience, actually, because here you get both the search and the settings. So if you go into settings, it's not really anything interesting in that sense. But I can directly search and find content that I would like to share with my colleague. For instance, I would like him to go into this specific workspace and then work on some content together with me. So this is also a pretty neat way of handling conversations in the chat. And then, of course, Adminson can go and open up that specific report as long as he has access, or the workspace in this case. All right, so let's jump a little bit further in here. There is another angle as well, and that's meetings, where we do spend a lot of time these days. And in this case, I'm just, of course, calling myself. And in the meeting chat there, you can see there's already a set of reports that has been shared. And then if you type Power BI into that chat as well, you get the search experience from within the meeting. So then you can just write Power BI, and of course it's a little bit low down there. But then you get the search experience again, and you can then go directly in and share the Office 365 analytics to everyone participating in that specific meeting. So this is also something that is quite interesting in terms of using data as part of your daily meetings. And then, of course, they will be there in the history and everything. So you can go back and have a look later on. And then oh, sorry, I jumped a little bit too quickly here. The interesting part, and this is this preview feature. This is a GIF, so it's just going to keep on going and going and going. But this is something that is going to come later. I don't know when yet. I'm hoping at least before Christmas, that's for sure. But this is the dataset search experience. So from within Teams, you can see here that you have recommended data sets on the top. And these are data sets that are recommended by the organization and kind of jumped up. So you can get them in your home experience. And then if you click on a specific data set here, you can actually see there are the option to create it. It's going really, really quickly, but you can actually create the report from within Teams. And this is really, really interesting because it gets actually, this is a curated data set. So it, of course, the data model you can't do much about in this case, but you can easily reuse a data set and then spin up a new report or an app for that matter while you're in Teams. And this is a real accelerator from my point of view. So super interesting, and I'm really much looking forward to this arriving. Okay, so now that we have explored the Power BI plus Teams experience, I'm going to move into the second part of the presentation, which is actually how can we get insights from Teams. And then I have a couple of different options as well, both, but we're starting lightweight. First of all, the Office 365 user activity app. That will be the first one because, and this is really something I tell most of my clients. So before you kind of start working on something big and expensive, just see what's out there in terms of using content that already exists, and accelerators, as I would like to call them. And the Office 365 user activity app is an accelerator indeed, because it's actually a template app that everyone can go into Power BI and then just spin up based on your own tenant ID. Of course, you need certain rights and everything in terms of getting the correct data up there, but it's a real accelerator. And that Office 365 user activity app will give you an amount of insights into Teams, for instance, but it also gives you an overview of the rest of the Office 365 applications. The other way to get some insights into Teams, that's Workplace Analytics. And Workplace Analytics is coming, not coming to Microsoft Teams, that's maybe a little bit wrong phrase, but Microsoft Analytics will be able to provide you insights on Teams. That was actually announced on Ignite not too long ago. So that's a very interesting option. Requires, of course, some additional setup and all of that, and I will go into the architectures of that specific option later on. And then we have a fairly interesting option, which I don't think that many actually knows about, and that's the call quality dashboard. So if you're administrating Teams or have some role of, I don't know, handling Teams within your organization, then you can actually use these. These are also what I would call accelerators, because they are Power BI desktop files that you can then just connect to your own tenant, and you will get some really, really interesting insights into the quality of Teams calls within your organization. And then, of course, we do have the fourth option there, which is a custom option, which is kind of the last option, but of course, the most flexible option in terms of getting the insights in the way that you need for your specific organization. Will, of course, require some more development, but I will also speak a little bit about how that option works. So let's have a look at the out-of-the-box option here. So this is actually what I was showing you in the previous demo as well. That was the Office 365 app from within Power BI Service that you can just easily spin up based on your own tenant ID. So let's jump over into that demo. Then I'm just going to start here. And in Power BI, this is now already loaded in, of course, in my specific environment. But if you would like to go and fetch this application from, and you don't have it from previous, of course, you can just go into the home experience and then go into apps and just search for Microsoft 365 Usage Analytics. And then you'll have the option to download that app, and it will create a workspace for you that you can, you will have access to the report and of course the underlying data set. You won't be able to change that data set specifically, but you can definitely change the report. So that's a fairly low cost option. And what you can see here in the Microsoft 365 Usage Analytics is that it's a pre-made report for you. It has, of course, a couple of high-level stats. So in this executive summary here, you can see that there are some good insights into adoption, for instance, of Microsoft 365. I have some basic stats on usage, on mobility, communication, collaboration, storage, and then we go into the specific services with some high-level KPIs of usage. So you can see that we have Exchange, OneDrive, SharePoint, Teams, and Yammer and Skype for Business. So there are definitely some pre-made Teams insights for you within this application. So let me start up here again. And yeah, I'm just going to scroll over to product usage. So here you can actually see Teams usage over time. So you get this is of course a little bit old, June 2020, I had 1,612 active users and 97.2%. And then of course I can have a look at enabled and active users over time. So this can kind of give me an indication, and I'm guessing, it's only a guess, but I think that has skyrocketed after March. And then of course you can go into the different months, and then you can get some additional stats into call participation, channel messaging, chat messaging, and also participation in meetings. So you get some out-of-the-box stats that's quite interesting in terms of looking at how Teams is used and adopted across your organization. And of course, you can highlight and drill and filter and do all of the amazing things that Power BI allows you to do. So for instance, looking at January, I can compare periods, etc. And then, of course, you can go into more details, granular details in terms of, for instance, specifically user activity on Teams. So here you can filter on company, department, country, state, city, and you get all of the activities across these dimensions. So here you can also get some quite interesting insights. So we have, of course, the total of activities, we have total channel messages, and a couple of other stats here. Total meeting participants, call participants, and so on. So we do get a lot of free insights just by using this application. And of course, have a look at the map in terms of the different activities across Microsoft Teams. All right, now it's going a little bit too fast for me here. Moving on to from the out-of-the-box option I also want to show you, or I'm actually not showing you this since I don't have the correct license, but I will at least explain you the kind of next level option. So if the out of the box stats doesn't really provide you the insights you're looking for, then there is the next level option, and this is a pretty neat way to get insights on the everyday work that's happening in Microsoft 365. And also getting a very dynamic view, I would say, of the collaboration patterns that you need to actually act on in terms of improving employee experience and also sharpen your customer focus. So this is Workplace Analytics. And in the slide I'm showing you right now, this is just the architectural view. Since you're data people or Azure people, I thought it would be a much more interesting angle. Of course, I'm much more of a visual person in my head, but also a solution architect. So I like both angles. I'll show you both angles, but starting out with the architecture. So what is really Workplace Analytics? Well, you can bring in, of course, Workplace Analytics has all of the data from Microsoft 365 default in it. But the interesting part is that you can also bring in additional data. So you can bring in metadata from Microsoft 365, of course. In addition, you can bring in, for instance, organizational data in terms of HR, department information, and so on. You can also bring in the customer dimension, so CRM data, into Workplace Analytics as a data source. And it's also quite easy to connect to, so it doesn't require that much of a development work in terms of starting to use it. By default, you get, of course, a set of, let's say, insights that you can start use. And in addition to that, partners are, of course, creating accelerators on top of that. So there are many different ways to leverage Workplace Analytics. And as you can see, the data outputs, basically, from all of this data coming in is explorational dashboards. And you can also actually go down to row level to find data. And on the experience side, or the consumption layer, there, of course, you have these amazing readouts that are created from the UI of Workplace Analytics. And of course, you have Power BI there as well. It's everywhere, right? So it provides you a lot of insights into adoption and patterns in terms of how your Office 365 environment and Teams coming is used. So here you can see an example. It's really small, but you get some interesting metrics, and you also get some contextual information there, more of an AI engine below there. So for instance, you can ask or get answers to questions like, where are the influencers in my company? So what kind of champions are there out there in terms of using Teams or in terms of adopting different Office 365 apps, including Power BI, for instance? And then who makes the decisions in your company? Are they made top-down or in a more decentralized manner? And how are influencers adapting to, for instance, the remote work situation? That's very interesting. How are these influencers' collaboration patterns changing response in terms of the disruption? And of course, what impact does this disruption have on the key roles that these influencers play across your organization? So it can provide you some powerful insights in terms of different patterns you could target in your organization. So that is Workplace Analytics. There are plenty of more information if you want to dig a little bit further down into that one. And then the next part here is the other accelerator, which is Microsoft Call Quality. So in Microsoft Teams, if you're an admin, you have kind of a standard dashboard in order to have a look at these data on the Microsoft Teams quality, calls quality. So the only thing to mention is that these insights are quite limited at the moment. But there is an answer to it. So on Microsoft Docs, there is actually, if you go into or search for CQD, call quality dashboard, then you get a set of templates that you can use to get some more insights into the quality of your Teams calls. And in these reports, of course, there is an underlying cube. So it's a direct query towards a cube that is already created. So in this case, if you're going down this direction, there isn't any need or there isn't any possibility to do any data modeling as such, because you don't really own the cube. But maybe, I don't know this, but I'm just speculating, maybe it's possible to use the direct query in connecting to the cube when composite model comes in Power BI. Maybe you can bring in some import data in addition. That's just me speculating a little bit. But how does this work? So you see in my slide here that there is a couple of things you need to do in order for this to work. So alongside so you can actually download an entire folder which has all of the assets you need basically to spin this up. And one of the things you need to do is to grab the extension. It's actually a certified connector. You need to grab that from the folder that you can download from the CQD templates, and then just put it in where all of your other connectors are. So typically it's in the certified extensions applications folder in the Power BI desktop application folder somewhere. So you just need to scoop that one over, and then you can just actually open up these Power BI templates, and then it will work quite seamlessly. So let's jump over to this demo then. Then I will start from here. So what we're looking at now is a folder where I have all of these assets. So we have, oh, sorry, moving on a little bit too quickly here again. So we have a set of different templates, as you can see in this folder here. So we have a help desk report, we have a mobile device report, we have a summary report, we have a Teams usage report, and we have even user feedback report as the ratings on calls. So all of these reports is something you can just download and then reuse as long as you have the rights to do so, of course. So let's just jump over into the actual report here. I'll go a little bit faster. So opening up the summary report. Oh, for some reason, I'm just scooping away. So opening up this summary report, I'll just scoop over to where we have the data that's interesting to look at. So this is a pre-made template that you can spin up. The only thing you need to add in there is your tenant ID. And then you will, of course, get these stats connecting directly to that cube. So giving you fresh insights in terms of the call quality. And here you can, of course, see that there are lots of different data. You have Well, yeah, peer-to-peer conference. So this is like really nitty-gritty Teams data. I'm not that into the whole Teams infrastructure part of things. But I'm sure there is like plenty of interesting insights you can gain from these reports. And the good thing is that you have the cube there. So in Power BI Desktop, you can drag in, of course, different types of fields, and then you can actually create your own report, right? Giving you the insights that you're looking for in terms of the quality of the calls. So you can see there, for instance, the audio minutes and the last 30 days, and you can filter on region. And some of these things you can also actually bring in, I believe, within the Teams dashboard or the Teams quality dashboard admin site. There you can, for instance, also categorize different departments and areas within your organization. So there are some options to get some additional layer of insight. You can see on the right-hand side that there is like pre-created measures, calculations, and then there is a whole bunch of different dimensions and facts and whatnot in this cube and hierarchies. So you can, of course, create a new page, and then you can try to find out what insights you're looking for. So this is quite a neat option in terms of, for instance, looking at 4% stats. I can bring that in and create my own report. Of course, this is based on my demo tenant, so you don't really see that much interesting insights. But if you're on a real tenant, I'm sure there will be plenty of insights. And then moving on, since there are 10 minutes left, moving on to the last option. This is the little bit more complicated option. And this would, of course, require you to use or create a data platform within Azure to ingest this data into some storage mechanism, right? So we have the option to, for instance, use Data Factory to ingest Graph API data and then combining it with audit log data. Or we can use log analytics and then stream that data into a streaming service, for instance. So this option is highly flexible, a little bit more expensive because you, of course, need to create, ingest the data, store it somewhere, and then create, of course, the reporting layer on top. But I see many going down this route because there are definitely many dimensions in terms of what an organization would like to look at and gain insights from. So I do see a lot of companies going down this direction. But now at least you know the different options that are out there, both in terms of using Power BI within Teams and measuring Teams and gaining some insights into how Teams is being used these days. So that's it from my presentation today. So thank you very much for everyone listening, and please feel free to reach out on Twitter or LinkedIn or wherever you would like if you're interested in finding out more about this. All right, so then I'll just end my presentation here. And perhaps there are some questions.
Cool.
Are you still with me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
There we are. Thanks. Great session. Really nice. For me, a lot of new stuff.
It is a lot of new stuff.
Yeah, really cool to see how everything gets more and more integrated. So that's really nice. Is this something you already use in your daily work?
Yeah, so the Power BI integration is definitely something I use in my daily work.
Yeah, yeah, very cool. Yeah. And from the new things you showed, which is the one we need to start? Yeah, right now. What's the one we need to pick first?
Yeah, so definitely I would encourage everyone to start using that Power BI application from within Teams, because as long as it's allowed, of course, by your administrators in your companies, then that is a really, really quick way of starting to use more data into all of your channels, basically. So that's a really, really easy one to start with.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, nice.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Well, I think we're out of questions. Roland, is that correct?
Well, maybe the question is, are there any specific security roles we need to get from our security administrators to use any of it? Or is it just a toggle they can switch on in their management environment?
Yeah, so there is a toggle, but in addition, there are a set of policies that the administrator can turn on and off as they wish. So there are different options to kind of do the governance part around how which options are available, basically, on the tenant in terms of using Power BI.
Okay. Well, we need to bug our administrators for that then.
Yes.
Correct specific rights.
Yeah, it could be that many has kind of not turned it on yet. It's quite new, so yeah, let's see.
Yeah, we're just going to ask them for it, and then we'll see where we'll go.
Absolutely, yeah. And you actually, in addition to Power BI now, you have both Power Apps and you have the virtual agents and Power Automate as well from within Teams. So this is kind of bringing everything. Like Teams is the new hub for everything, right? Even if it's creating apps or automations or creating virtual agents. That's kind of where the new home is.
Yeah, Teams for everything. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, thanks again. Are you willing to share the slides with us?
Absolutely, I can do that.
Nice, thanks. Well, then thank you very much.
Thank you.
And also, again, thanks, Rowan, for your great session. I think we had two very, very nice sessions this evening. Really enjoyed it. Also, big thanks to our sponsors somewhere down here. And of course, thank you for watching. Like Roland said already during the kickoff, next month we don't host an Azure Thursday because it's on the same day as the virtual Azure Community Day, and Azure Thursday will co-organize that event. So it's a really cool event. Please join that one. And we are back in January.
Yes, in the new year.
Yeah, already looking forward to it.
Very much. So I hope to see you on the virtual Azure Community Day. And have a good evening.
And have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.